1580.com about our climate justice campaign, which is now in full effect.
The city of Compton is pleased to partner with KBLA Talk 1580 to celebrate Earth Day 2024 as we serve, share, and help our city shine.
And KBLA Talk 1580 is just as excited to join the city of Compton as we broadcast live and bring our KBLA delegation with us to help clean and beautify our community, and you are invited to join us.
Come meet us on Saturday, April the 20th from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. at 212 West Cypress Street in Compton as we fan out to clean up our city.
The first 50 KBLA listeners to hit our website at KBLA1580.com will receive a free KBLA tee when you join us on Saturday morning, April 20th from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. at 212 West Cypress Street in Compton. Now, no show, no shirt, but sign up at KBLA1580.com right now to help us clean up Compton as part of Earth Day 2024.
We will see you on Saturday, April the 20th, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. at 212 West Cypress Street in the city of Compton to do our part for Earth Day 2024.
We are KBLA Talk 1580, caring about the climate, caring about the community, cleaning up Compton.
Second floor of my hotel, I'm rolling up, about to blaze. And zone out to this Frankie Beverly and Maze. As our days about to pass, and them days in the past, he set my mind free, so my mind free at last. So much that I don't even drink from a fucking glass. I'd rather find the first fountain I can and do it fast. Didn't understand the dream of a king, or do the math. Coincidentally, on your birthdays, I dished the class. Cause the younger me, dumber me was chasing the cash, chasing that low life with his face in the grass. Riding home from school in front of the bus, not even thinking about how Rosa Parks done it for us. How she stayed behind bars and she done it for us. And she stayed behind bars till she won it for us. Sometimes I wanna give up or at least take a break. That's when I close my eyes and see Coretta Scott's face. Cause sometimes I wanna give up and at least take a break. That's when I close my eyes and see Coretta Scott's face.
But it really doesn't matter with me now, because I've been to the mountaintop. I don't mind. Like anybody, I would like to live a long life. Longevity has its place. But I'm not concerned about that now. I just want to do God's will. And He's allowed me to go up to the mountain. And I've looked over, and I've seen the promised land. I may not get there with you, but I want you to know tonight that we as a people will get to the promised land. So I'm happy tonight. I'm not worried about anything. I'm not fearing any man. Mine eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord.
Michael Eric Dyson, I've heard those words more times than I can count, and so have you. And yet every time I hear them, they do something to me. What say you, sir?
Tavis, I can barely speak, my man. I was just at the Civil Rights Museum, the National Civil Rights Museum, last week, as you know, the memorialization of the spot, room 306, where a report rang out across the parking lot to find its deadly, effective subject in the neck of the greatest leader this nation has ever produced, severing his tie, ripping his face apart, falling back onto the pavement with his knees and is up in the air, his legs bicycling as if he were on a bike. His friend, Ralph Abernathy, going into the room, retrieving a towel and then a jar, and then scooping with that cardboard from a laundered shirt, scooping the blood of Martin Luther King Jr. into the jar, saying, "This is the blood of the prophet sacrificed for us. This is the greatest American we have ever seen." And on this day, 56 years ago, at 6:01 p.m. local time, he gave up the ghost for the love of his people.
I do this every year, in part because I agree with Dr. Dyson that Dr. King is the greatest American this country's ever produced, and so this day is never lost on me, and wherever I am in the world, I spend time in reflection, I spend time in thanksgiving for the life and legacy of one Martin Luther King Jr., and it just turns out that for all the years I have had a media platform every year, if I don't talk to anybody else, I talk to Michael Eric Dyson on this day, and I'm always honored when he receives my phone call and agrees to be a guest on this program. You know my rule. The shorter the introduction, the more important you are. Ladies and gentlemen, the Pope. Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States. Ladies and gentlemen, the M to the E to the D. I now give him a proper introduction. Michael Eric Dyson, the professor from Vanderbilt University in Nashville, Tennessee. It's been too long, Michael. How are you, sir?
Man, I'm doing great, Tavis. And not to answer your question, that speech is the first speech of Martin Luther King Jr.'s that I heard. I was sitting on the living room floor, my father in the big chair right behind me. I was 9 years old, watching the news when the newsman broke faith with the printed program and announced that Martin Luther King Jr. had been shot. And I turned to my mother and I said, "Well, which one is he?" And then that short, beautiful man whose words were like pathos, brimming with the intensity of our aspiration as peoples, as a people, let loose with that speech you just gave and that you just played. And to me, Tavis, greater than I Have a Dream, greater than How Long, Not Long, that speech was the greatest speech Martin Luther King Jr. ever delivered, because people may not realize he was in his hotel room at the Lorraine Motel, sick, not feeling well. It was raining cats and dogs. He didn't like going into Memphis. He usually liked to get in and get out. What a premonition that was. And he was laying up there, and Ralph Abernathy gave him a call and said, "No, Doc, ain't no substitute for you tonight. You got to come here tonight." He gets out of his sick bed, gets dressed, makes it to Mason Temple in Memphis, Tennessee, to deliver that speech, among which were the choice words, "All we ask, America, be true to what you said on paper." And then he also remembered that a white girl had given him a letter when he got stabbed in his chest. And he said he got a letter from the president, he don't remember. Got a letter from the governor, he doesn't remember. But he remembers what that white girl said. "I read in the newspaper that if you had sneezed, you would have drowned in your blood." And Dr. King, like any great preacher, took that and made it refrain. "If I had sneezed, I wouldn't have been around here in 1964. And then he took off, and then he ended with that great peroration, that ending that you just played, one of the greatest endings to one of the greatest speeches that we have ever heard. So, yes, those words continue to thrill me and lift me up when I hear them.
We'll talk more about that speech and more when we come forward, commemorating in this hour the life of the greatest American this country's ever produced, Martin Luther King Jr. And, of course, because he's Michael Eric Dyson, we will probe him on a number of other issues as we move through this hour. How blessed are we to be in dialogue with the M to the E to the D on Tavis Smiley.
From Lamert Park with love, this is Tavis Smiley.
Hey y'all, Mona Swain here from Target's new YouTube series, My Cart is Full, where we feature Black founders and creators highlighting their connection to our community. As an actor and content creator, I love using my voice to inspire young Black women who look like me. When it comes to feeding my shine, seeing myself reflected in Black-owned and founded products at Target brings me joy. Together, we are Black Beyond Measure. Learn more at target.com/Black Beyond Measure.
Cookie wants to be a professional wrestler.
I'm Cookie Serratos, and I'm 11 years old.
She also wants to win all the medals. That's why Cookie and her family make every day count, squeezing out her best with Go-Go Squeeze.
Okay, Cookie, let's break for a Go-Go Squeeze.
Go-Go Squeeze fruit-on-the-go pouches are a nutritious snack made from 100% fruit with no sugar added.
Call Cookie!
Because when you nurture your kids, you squeeze out the best in them. Squeeze out the best with Go-Go Squeeze. Not a low-calorie food. Products range from 11 to 13 grams of sugar and 60 to 70 calories per serving.
When you're young, life is full of choices. Don't let opioids like highly addictive and deadly fentanyl take away your life with just one wrong pill. Addiction is a disease that can affect anyone at any age. But there is a choice to get help for this disease. Find medically proven treatment options, including virtual, at choosemat.org.
Yeah, y'all, come on. Here come the drums.
At KBLA Talk 1580, we fight the power every day.
Yeah, gotta give us what we want. Gotta give us what we need. Hey.
I listen to KBLA and I love the commercials. I know what the commercials mean. I also, if I'm looking and trying to figure something out, I need something to talk to me that might hit me. And it happens on TV because, you know, every time they show a sporting event, they got the pharmaceutical companies back to back to back telling people how to fix the sickness on the same stuff that they sell them. So we get it.
Yep, we get it too, Chuck D. And that's why at KBLA Talk 1580, we don't black down.
Drop it! Our freedom of speech is freedom of death. We got to fight the powers that be. Fight the power! Fight the power!
Some days I cover up because of my moderate to severe plaque psoriasis.
Now I'm hitting the road with clearer skin thanks to Skyrizi, Rizumkizum of Riza, a prescription-only 150 milligram injection for adults who are candidates for systemic or phototherapy. With Skyrizi, 3 out of 4 people achieved 90% clearer skin at 4 months. And Skyrizi is just 4 doses a year after 2 starter doses.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions and an increased risk of infections or a lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check for infection and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms such as fever, sweats, chills, muscle aches, or cough, or if you plan to or recently received a vaccine.
Thanks to Skyrizi, there's nothing on my skin, and that means everything. Ask your doctor today about Skyrizi, the #1 dermatologist prescribed biologic in psoriasis, and visit skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKY-RIZZI to learn more.
Smart talk for curious people just like you. You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
It is with the utmost pride and sincerity that I present this recording as a living testament and recollection of history in the making during our generation.
Allow me to reintroduce myself. My name is Ho, H to the OV. I used to move snowflakes by the up. I guess even back then you can call me CEO of the ROC. Ho, fresh out the frying pan into the fire. I be the music biz #1 supplier. Flyer than a piece of paper bearing my name. Got the hottest chick in the game wearing my chain. That's right.
You can't talk to Michael Eric Dyson without playing some Jay-Z. You like that, Dyson? You like that?
CEO, M-E-D. Yes, sir. I love it.
Yeah, if you know Mike Dyson as I do, and I know him rather well, you got to play some Jay-Z at some point during the hour. And you heard it. You heard Jay-Z said he got the hottest chick in the game. We'll talk about that chick a little later in this hour, and her new and her new project. Cowboy Carter. We'll talk about that and let Dyson sound off on that as well. So a lot to talk about.
He might be wearing her chain, Doc. He might be wearing her chain.
I take your point. We'll talk about that and unleash Michael Eric Dyson on that subject matter and a few others as we move through this hour. But we're going to continue our conversation for a moment here, giving props to MLK. As we commemorate his assassination 56 years ago on that balcony at the Lorraine in Memphis. So Michael Eric Dyson moments ago told you his story about when he first got exposed to King. He was 9 in Detroit. I was 15 in Indiana. And as it turns out, once I got exposed to him, I was actually exposed to him at 12, to be honest, at 12. And by the time I'm 15 and I'm in high school, I'm on the speech team, and I am engaged in a contest called OI, Oratorical Interpretation. As the title suggests, you take somebody else's oratory and you interpret it as you see fit. And I still hold records in the state of Indiana for winning speech contests up and down the state, doing my part to interpret the words of Dr. King. Every speech I can get my hands on, every year, every season I was in high school, all 4 years, you had to have a different speech that you would do for the season. And I did 4 years on the speech team, and I did 4 different King speeches. And I racked up blue ribbons and championships all up and down the state letting Kings, just imbibing what he had to say and trying to share that with audiences up and down the state. And then they started calling me to speak here at this gathering and this convention and this place. So Lil Tavis was known all over Indiana as the guy that was delivering his interpretation of Dr. King's words. And those words, Michael, have a way of getting inside of us the more we recite them, do they not?
That's absolutely true. And I won the oratorical contest for the Optimist Club and certainly was inspired by Dr. King. So both of us owe our careers, really, and the rhetorical majesty we've been able to access through Dr. King.
Yeah.
Yes, there was something powerful about him, his voice, his intonation, his Southern accent, and then we'll speak about Miss Beyonce later on, but that Southern accent that reverberated around the world, that echoed across the corridors of time, because it was deeply drenched in learning. He was unapologetic about his learning. He was unapologetic about absorbing all that he could learn so that he could turn it into powerful grist for the mill of black freedom. And so something about his voice, the timbre, the tone, the intonation, the way in which he really unleashed that voice in his own pace. Now, he understood his lane. That's why he would never really debate Malcolm X, because in a debate 101, Malcolm would have lapped the going around the lap about 3 or 4 times while Dr. King was just clearing his throat. Now, Malcolm, he would have said, "You've been bamboozled. You've been cooked. You've been had. I have. You've been had." So it'd have been rough, Doc. It'd have been rough.
Yeah.
It'd have been rough to debate Malcolm X at that level. That's why Bayard Rustin had to debate Malcolm X, because he had a faster clip.
Oh yeah.
But Dr. King's beautiful voice, it was resonant. It was like a singing voice. And when he, stretched those words out, like Sam Cooke with Melisma, down in Alabama with its vicious racist. So there was some euphony to his voice, the melodic intensity of his voice, but also the somberness. The late, great Dr. Gardner Taylor said, there was a tear at the center of his voice. And so there was a tear. There was a sadness.
Yeah.
There was a melancholy that reverberated in his voice, but there was eternal hopefulness in that voice as well.
Yeah, and y'all thought Dyson was just a scholar and an author. No, he does impersonations and anything else that he that he wants to do. I was laughing while you were talking. I was thinking about the story I shared about running around the state of Indiana reciting his words at age 15. I'm in high school reciting his stuff at 15, but as you know, at 15, King was on the way to Morehouse, man. At 15.
Now, Tavis, I was doing my thing as a young man. Well, yeah, because, and I'm glad you mentioned that, because there was an early admission to young students, young black men in particular, because World War II had diminished the ranks, so to speak. And so Martin Luther King Jr. got in on that early admission because of the decimation of our masculine community during the war. That's the same program, by the way, that Maynard Jackson got in later on at the age of 15.
That's right.
So they were prodigious, to be sure, but they were enabled by some other factors. But yeah, he was a bad boy. He was called Tweed. He was like you in that sense, though. He was called Tweed because he wore such stylish suits. And when he and his boy were called the Wrecking Crew, and they asked him why they were called the Wrecking Crew, because we wreck all the ladies. So he was, yeah. So Dr. King had another side.
Yeah. For those who may think it's sacrilegious that Dyson and I are laughing in this conversation about Dr. King, that's because you didn't know Martin King. He was a jokester and a prankster himself, was he not, Dr. Dyson?
Ooh, Lord, Doc. I can't even repeat some of them jokes, but there is no doubt. He was. People were talking to him about being afraid to fly. He said, "It's not that I don't trust God in the air. I've just got more experience with him on the ground." So,
no, he was funny, man. And of course, he told the funny story when he went to the Tonight Show when Belafonte was hosting the Tonight Show, and King told a funny story when he arrived. And you know the story, Dyson. You want to tell it? Shall I tell it?
You tell it, Doc. You are the master.
No. You're a better storyteller than I am. The short version is that King was appearing on the Tonight Show when the Tonight Show was in New York, was back in New York these days. Jimmy Fallon took it back years ago after Jay Leno had it for all those years with Johnny Carson here in L.A. But King was in Atlanta and had agreed to appear on the Tonight Show. Harry Belafonte, his dear friend, was hosting, sitting in that week. And King had agreed to appear on the show. By the way, there's a documentary, about just about that week that Belafonte sat in hosting the Tonight Show, because everybody and their mama, it's a great documentary. I mean, everybody you can imagine, because of Harry Belafonte's connections, came through that show that week, and just that one week has been worthy of books and articles and documentaries about the week that Harry Belafonte sat in on the Tonight Show. But King was scheduled to be a guest that night. He's in Atlanta, was running late, got on a plane at the last minute, landed at LaGuardia, got into a cab and told the young brother driving, he said, I'm late for the Tonight Show. I can't do it in the King voice as Dyson would. He said, but I'm late for the Tonight Show. Get me there as quickly as you can. This Negro starts running red lights, driving up on sidewalks. The car's on two wheels, doing everything he can to get Dr. King to the Tonight Show on time for this live show. And Dr. King said, brother, slow down. I'd rather be Dr. King who arrived late than the late Dr. King. He told that story on the Tonight Show, and it killed. So every now and then he would allow his humor to come through in public. But Dyson, my read and my understanding and my research suggests to me, and I think you probably agree, that one of the reasons he was afraid to show his humor in public is because he always wanted to be taken seriously, and his work was so serious he didn't want to give anybody any room to think that he was playing with this working witness.
That's a brilliant interpretation, a brilliant analysis, and it's true. And it also shows the pressure under which Dr. King labored, and it shows the intense respect for his craft, but also the fact that white folk were unfair. You could be a famous white person, have a great sense of humor, and it would be great. Mm-hmm. But a Negro, as we were then called, doing the same was unserious, incapable of intellectual acuity, and cerebral loftiness, and therefore Dr. King felt that pressure. He felt it as early as graduate school when he talked about not wanting ever to be late for class because he would live up to the stereotype. Mm. So Negroes were laughing and shucking and jiving, and he wanted to show by his dress, by his thin necktie, by his fedora that he wore, that I'm all business. The same way Malcolm X did. I'm here for serious business. I ain't shucking and jiving. I ain't smiling in your face and then going behind your back to cuss you out. I'm being who I am, and this is the business of the people. So, yes, he didn't have the luxury and leisure, but my God, among his own friends, that man was, he might as well have been Richard Pryor, Doc. He was pretty funny.
and as we all know, the night, just before he dies, the night before, he and Andy and are pillow fighting in the hotel.
Pillow fighting, Doc.
Grown men
Little
pillow
Negro,
fighting.
Where you been? But he didn't say Negro.
He sure did. Anyway. He sure did not. Let me circle back. To this speech. We started this hour playing audio of his last great speech, and to Dyson's point, and I think I probably agree, the greatest speech King ever gave. And that's a great, that could be a barroom brawl right there, a barroom brawl about his greatest speech. But Dyson has sounded off on his point of view, and I just shared my point of view as well. Bottom line is, neither of us believes that I Have a Dream is his greatest speech. Everybody else does, but not Dyson and not Smiley. But back to that speech. It took me a while, Mike, to figure this out. But after I studied it over and over and over again, I finally connected with what was really happening that night. When you watch the video, not just the audio, when you watch the video of King giving this speech at Mason Temple that night, you know this better than most. You probably know where I'm going with this. If you watch him and just watch his eyes, his eye, you know where I'm going, don't you? His eyes are darting all over that room. That threat of death was on him so tough. Ooh. The death threats were coming in so fast and so furious that in that speech on that night, King he's doing his thing as brilliantly as ever, as Dyson and I both agree, better than ever. But if you Google it right, well, don't do it now while we're on the air, but when you get a chance today, Google that speech. There's video of it, and just watch Dr. King's eyes. Just watch his eyes. I bet you've never done this before. And watch how his eyes are darting all over that room as if he's looking for a shooter. You know what I'm talking about, don't you, Dyson?
Doc, again, your research is so thick and so beautiful and so insightful. As we know, Dr. King didn't feel comfortable unless he was in a room without windows. Mm-hmm. Why? Because to your point, he was always imagining who might shoot him, what bullet might crease the pain and find its resting place inside of his body. And so he had horrible hiccups. He had horrible fear. He looked all around the room, and that's a brilliant point you're making. It was not simply his oratorical skill and ability to look around and involve everybody in the room. He's on the lookout as a one-man search for the potential murderer that was inevitably coming to him. And we heard it in his speech. He literally is announcing it. Some have said about one of our sick white brothers. You know, that goes on right before the part you played. But it really doesn't matter with me now because I've been to the mountaintop. And so he knows about the sick white brothers and the report that they are out there to kill him. And let's be real. He could have given that speech for the last 4 or 5 years of his life because they were threatening him every day. And these were credible threats, not some people who got mad and said some stuff. These are credible threats. And how do we know? Because the FBI withheld from Dr. King knowledge of credible threats to his life. So not only was he being pursued and hounded by white supremacist actors who, on behalf of a bigoted nation, would snuff out the greatest living black man and therefore the greatest living American, but they were also aided and abetted by a government that had turned its hide against Dr. King. So this is the pressure under which he lived, and you're right. Very few people realize that Dr. King lived with that fear, which makes that speech even greater.
Oh, yeah, that's it.
It's deep enough. And look, you and I have both had death threats. Now, when I first started getting them, I was like, man, how am I going to talk? How am I going to speak with some idiot who might come out here and hurt me? This man is throwing down with the greatest ease of oratorical expression.
I can only tell you this. Matter of fact, let me just tell you this story when we come forward. To Dyson's point, he and I both received death threats in the course of our career. One night I was on book tour in Philadelphia, and the FBI, I was on PBS then, the FBI contacted PBS to let them know that there were credible threats against my life and that it might go down that evening in Philadelphia. PBS got the word to me, and I had a decision to make about whether to step to the podium in Philadelphia that night. When we come forward, I'll tell you what happened. We're talking with Michael Eric Dyson on Tavis, Smiley.
Unapologetically progressive. Unapologetically black. You're tapped into Tavis Smiley.
Paid for by government.com. Did you know? The United States Mint has issued a new Morgan silver dollar coin in proof condition for the first time. Not only that, they are also minted in 99.9% pure silver for the first time ever in history. Coin experts are calling this an amazing opportunity for anyone that knows the enduring popularity of Morgans. But you must hurry. Only 400,000 of these legal tender silver dollars were issued. These first ever Morgan silver dollars are brand new with stunning mirror-like finish, minted by the iconic San Francisco Mint. Call now and you're guaranteed a new first ever 99.9% pure silver proof Morgan dollar. To learn more, call 1-800-973-9717. If you order now, you will receive a free coin collector bonus pack, a $25 value, free with every order. Call 1-800-973-9717 now to secure your new Morgan silver dollars before they are gone. That's 1-800-973-9717.
I'm Mike Moore. Here's the latest from the Black Information Network. The judge in Donald Trump's hush money case is rejecting his presidential immunity argument. Trump is being charged with falsifying business records and has repeatedly tried to get New York Judge Juan Merchan recused from the case. Wednesday, Merchan shot down Trump's bid to use presidential immunity as part of his defense. The judge also denied Trump's motion to delay the trial's start date. In South Carolina, Horry County Schools is facing a federal lawsuit alleging racial discrimination. The suit was filed on behalf of a 17-year-old student who went to Green Seafloyd High School. The lawsuit claims the black teen was used as target practice by white teammates on the tennis team in 2023. The school's principal and coach are named as defendants. And that's the latest. I'm Mike Moore from your 24/7 news source, the Black Information Network and BINnews.com.
After a breakout 2023 season, Bazooka is getting the bobblehead treatment on Saturday, April 13th at 6:10 p.m. against the Padres. First 40,000 fans take home the first ever Bruce Dargatterall bobblehead presented by Yamaha Resort and Casino. Visit Dodgers.com/promotion.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Lakers capped a 5-1 Eastern road trip with a 5-point win at Washington. Anthony Davis had 35 points and 18 rebounds. LeBron dropped 25 with 9 assists. The Lakers are 8-1 in their last 9 games, but they haven't been able to move out of the 9th spot in the Western Conference. The teams ahead of them, Dallas, Phoenix, and Sacramento, keep winning as well. With 5 games left in the regular season, moving up from the 9th spot is important. If the Lakers are 9th at the end of the season, they will have to win 2 games in the play-in round to make the playoffs. The Clippers are back in action tonight at Crypto.com. They play the Denver Nuggets. Tip-off at 7 on TNT. Kawhi Leonard's status for tonight's game is uncertain. He's got a sore right knee. Big props to Angels' new manager, Ryan Washington. The Angels have won 4 straight after sweeping Miami. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
I'm Reverend Gerald, the life coach. Is someone you love struggling with addiction and mental illness? Is improving your family's health important? Want to leave a legacy that your family can grow? Are you ready to enhance your perception of life experiences? Then wake up weekends at 7 a.m. with Urban Family Focus and get the wisdom, opportunity, resources, and motivation to live your best life. Join the conversation on Urban Family Focus Saturday and Sunday at 7 a.m.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black. We're not just a thermometer recording and broadcasting popular opinion. We aim to be a thermostat, transforming the conversation about climate justice in our community. This is KBLA Talk 1580.
Need to hire? You need Indeed. Their end-to-end solution helps you attract, interview, and hire candidates all year round. Schedule and conduct virtual interviews right from your Indeed dashboard. Learn more by visiting Indeed.com/credit.
There are many healthcare organizations serving our community. Not all are dedicated to community partnerships that educate, build trust, inspire hope, and improve outcomes. Providence has a robust community outreach program and has dedicated $50 million over the next 5 years to support organizations addressing health disparities in local communities of color. Examples of this commitment include the Biddy Mason Community Wellness Center on the First AME campus, providing medical screenings, mental health therapy, nutrition, and culturally sensitive holistic classes. The Black Mamas Glowing Peer Support Group that focuses on maternal mental health, birth planning, and social support. Providence is committed to building trusted partnerships with community organizations to better understand and dismantle structural, racial, and cultural barriers to better health. During Minority Health Month, Providence is sponsoring Health for a Better World. Informative conversations with Providence health professionals on Urban Family Focus every Saturday in April at 7 a.m. To find a Providence Health System facility near you, log on to providence.org.
Eggs are a staple in our diets, and there's only one egg with more delicious farm fresh taste plus superior nutrition. Eggland's Best. With more vitamins, including 6 times more vitamin D and 10 times more vitamin E, plus 25% less saturated fat than ordinary eggs. Available in so many delicious varieties: classic, cage-free, and organic. Eggland's Best. Better taste, better nutrition, better eggs.
Girl, I have a secret. When I get stressed out, I get sweaty. That's why I use Secret Clinical Antiperspirant. It's like my own secret weapon. For 72 hours, I get Secret's strongest protection against sweat caused by stress, heat, and activity, because you know how crazy life can get. Plus, it's made with advanced odor fighters that don't just cover up smelliness. They help prevent it from happening in the first place. Believe me, if I weren't wearing Secret, I'd be a hot, smelly mess. Thankfully, Secret works.
Let's get back to more of Tavis Smiley right now.
More of Michael Eric Dyson right now on Tavis Smiley. We're honored to have him on today and in this hour as we commemorate the anniversary 56 years ago today of the death, the murder, frankly, of MLK. Speaking of I caught myself on that word. It wasn't just death; it was murder. And there's been great debate, Michael Eric Dyson, as you know, over the years, when people use that phrase, and they're well-intentioned, when they say Dr. King gave his life for us. He gave his life for us. Well, Jesus did give his life for us, but I'm not so sure that we're accurate, even though we're well-intentioned, when we say that Dr. King gave his life for us, or is that much ado about nothing, sir?
Well, look, I understand your point there, but look, Jesus was like, if this cup can pass, can somebody else drink it?
Yes.
Because I ain't really trying to really do that.
That's true.
So Jesus was at the time like, yeah, I know it was a good idea while I was up in heaven. But down here on earth, and I didn't live 33 years, it's rough. So the point is, Dr. King had his moment too. Like anybody, I'd like to live a long life. That's Gethsemane.
Yeah.
But longevity has its place. That's accepting I got to go to Golgotha. And he made a deliberate choice, Dr. King did, by saying any man who hasn't found something he's willing to die for isn't fit to live. So in that sense, no, he didn't want to die. Yes, he wanted to live a long life, but he knew by participating in the grand and great struggle for freedom and to make democracy real in this country that inevitably he would lose his life. He was sitting with his wife, and she recalls this in her autobiography, after John F. Kennedy was murdered, and they're looking at the proceedings on television. King turns to her and says, the same thing will happen to me. And Coretta Scott King says, I couldn't tell him no. Can you imagine? You're looking for solace, and your very wife knows that what you're saying about the almost inevitability of your surrender of life will occur. So in that sense, Tavis, I think that Dr. King made a conscious decision to give his life to the movement, which potentially meant that he would have to give his life up in order to realize its goals and ambitions.
Fair enough. Dr. Dyson knows what he speaks because he's written extensively about Dr. King, but one of my favorite books of his, and he's got more books than I can count. He got more books than Mary J. got videos. But one of my favorite books from Dr. Dyson is I May Not Get There With You, The True Martin Luther King Jr. One of my favorite books, again, from Dyson. I May Not Get There With You. If you never read it, I highly recommend you get your hands on it. I said before the break, I'd tell you the story about Philadelphia, only because I want to be simpatico with Dyson about what it means to navigate every day when your life is under threat. I'm in Philadelphia one night on tour, about to make an appearance at the library there. I love the library there in Philadelphia, right in downtown. Beautiful space. Been there many times. But on this night, the FBI contacts PBS. PBS contacts me and tells me there's a credible threat against me, and they're concerned about me taking the stage that night in Philadelphia. Long story short, I got on my knees where I was, and I prayed, and I asked the Lord to get me through that evening. I didn't want to disappoint the people who were there, nor did I want to tell people I was canceling because of death threats. So I prayed, got up off my knees, went in, and did my thing. But I will tell you, Michael Eric Dyson, on that night, good brother, my respect for MLK went through the roof. I didn't think I could respect him anymore because standing there trying to deliver a speech when you got a credible FBI threat about somebody trying to take your life, it's a difficult thing to do. And so to your point, the speech that King gave that night is all the more brilliant because he was under that threat day in and day out, and he handled his business that night nonetheless.
I mean, that was amazing. And I got the call later on, the message. I got it too late where you invited me to take your place, but I missed that call. So.
Yeah, much to my chagrin, you didn't answer the call that night.
Well, Tavis, you were always offering me a better chance, a better choice, a better chance. Boy, I'm gonna lift you up. But anyway, that kind of courage is unimaginable to somebody who hasn't had to do it. And you have had to do it more than once. You're being humble. You've had to do it more than once. I've had to do it more than once. And it is more than a notion to stand there to deliver speech. And imagine King being under the threat of death every day, no matter where he went, that the possibility of his death. So his conquering of death didn't mean that he wasn't still worried, doesn't mean that he was inviting death in a cavalier fashion. It meant that he had solved the ultimate riddle, that my life will have meaning whether I'm here on earth or whether I've gone to my reward. And he couldn't have imagined, even in his great mind, of what the impact his death would have on America. And that's in great measure a tribute to his wife, Coretta Scott King, who carried that baton at the death of Martin Luther King Jr., and it's because of her efforts, along with John Conyers and Stevie Wonder. John Conyers, the late great congressman who put the bill forth for Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday, and Stevie Wonder, who released that great song. But it was the effort of Coretta Scott King, because as you've written brilliantly, and I've talked about, King was at the low point of his popularity when he died.
That's right.
He would have never had organically a holiday. She had to put in the work to remind America about the meaning of this man, and it's because of her work that Martin Luther King Jr. today is celebrated in the culture the way he is.
Let me wrap this conversation about Dr. King before we move on to other issues with Dr. Dyson between now and the top of the hour. Let me wrap with this. I'd be remiss talking about King's assassination on this day. 56 years ago, April 4, I'd be remiss to not mention the name of one Maya Angelou. And yes, I do that. I do that because April 4 was the day they killed Martin, but it's also the day that Maya Angelou was born. April 4th was her birthday. And many of you know that Maya was like a surrogate mother to me. When she passed, I wrote a book called My Journey with Maya. She first took me out of this country. My very first trip out of this country was to Africa, carrying Maya's bags for 10 days in Africa, and all kinds of great stories I could share if I had the time about my journey with her over the 26 years of our friendship, it seems. But April 4 was her birthday, and she told me many, many stories about her friendship with Dr. King, and many, many stories about her being in the kitchen that day in her brownstone in New York and Harlem when news came, and she was putting the finishing touches on a dinner she was serving with her friends that night, serving to her friends that night at her home. News came while she's finishing up dinner that Dr. King had been killed, and it just ruined her day. And every April 4 thereafter, she spent some time with Coretta Scott King. She and Coretta Scott King would talk on the phone or be in person every single year thereafter on April 4th. So as we commemorate the assassination of Dr. King, we celebrate the birthday of one Maya Angelou. So when we come forward, I'm going to show you how brilliant Dyson really is. There ain't a Negro in this country I could ask this question of other than Michael Eric Dyson. So I'm going to ask Dyson to segue me from MLK to Beyonce. I don't know what this Negro is going to do, but I know Dyson can do it. How do I get from MLK to Beyonce? Watch how he does this when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
This is getting good.
Yeah, man.
Tavis Smiley continues when we come forward.
What is dedication?
My biggest fear in the middle of my addiction was that my kids wouldn't have a father. And I started thinking, you know what? This isn't my story. I definitely had to become a better man to be a better father. It's important to me that my kids are empowered and truly believe that if they can think it, they can do it.
That's dedication. Visit fatherhood.gov to hear more. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Joey from Vermont, a farmer trying to get through the winter. Adriana from South Carolina, a single mother living paycheck to paycheck. Liam from Ohio, an injured father struggling to provide for his family. Hi, I'm Shanola Hampton, and I support the Feeding America network of food banks because they help provide over 6 billion meals to people in need each year. Learn more at feedingamerica.org.
We must understand the politics of our community, and we must know what politics is supposed to produce.
This election year, KBLA Talk 1580 is the place for politics. Unapologetically progressive politics. And we've got two of the best and brightest to help you cut through all the noise. Weekdays at 1 p.m., it's a More Perfect Union with Dr. Nee Cordelai-Corte. And at 4 p.m., it's Areva Martin in real time. He's the university professor and distinguished member of the White House Correspondents Association. She's a best-selling author and Harvard-trained civil rights lawyer. And they are both here every day to help guide you through all the this year, because you know it's going to get deep. Get your politics on weekday afternoons at 1 p.m. and 4 p.m. with a More Perfect Union, hosted by Dr. Nee Cordelai-Corte and Areva Martin in real time, only on KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your flag.
Without the ones like you, who work tirelessly to keep things running, everything would suddenly stop. Hospitals, factories, schools, and power plants, they all depend on you. No matter the weather, emergency, or time of day, you're the ones who get it done. At Grainger, we're here for you with professional-grade industrial supplies. Count on real-time product availability and fast delivery. Call, clickgrainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
When you use Bounce dryer sheets and your clothes look amazing, it's the sheet. Less static in your life? Yeah, it's the sheet. Smelling fresher than ever? It's the sheet. Oh, so soft fabric? Ooh la la. It's the sheet. Less wrinkles on your clothes? You know it's the sheet. Bounce dryer sheets. More freshness, more softness. Less static, less wrinkles. It's the sheet.
He's rooting for everybody black. Everybody black. More of Tavis Smiley coming your way right now.
All right, Michael Eric Dyson, segue me from MLK to Beyonce.
You can imagine two Southern children, one born in Atlanta, the other born in Houston, both prodigies. At a young age, Martin Luther King Jr. Was set up on a soapbox so that he could sing at the tender age of 3 and 4 and 5. Beyonce was engaging in talent contests at an age barely older than that. And then you think about both of them being reared with Southern accents in a culture that was skeptical about black humanity and black intellectual ability. And then beyond that, both of them using their platforms to change the world. Martin Luther King Jr. as a spokesman for civil rights, and Beyonce as arguably the greatest entertainer that this world has ever seen. And beyond that, on April 4th, 2008, 40 years after Martin Luther King Jr. was murdered, Jay-Z and Beyonce tied the knot on this day. So this is the 16th wedding anniversary of the first couple of black entertainment, and therefore they have a link, both literally on this day when one left, the other embraced a new life together, but both of them outstanding geniuses who have allowed the black voice to reverberate around the world and bring us into higher consciousness about our purpose here on earth.
That's why you can't fade the M to the E to the D. I didn't know what was coming, but I knew it was going to be rich, and I knew nobody could do it quite the way Dr. Dyson does it, and there's the proof. So that said, I don't need to color this question much more. There's all kinds of commentary about it, but I'm interested now in your commentary about Cowboy Carter.
I mean, is the girl doing her thing? Is the woman so deep and cold? I'm category-less. That's what she might as well be saying. It's a country album, to be sure. The twang, the steel guitar, the banjo playing, and, of course, the harmonica of none other than Stevie Wonder. The remakes of Jolene, but with a growl. Jolene was being begged not to take Dolly Parton's man, but Beyonce is threatening Jolene that she better not try to take her man. But beyond that, it's not just country music, it's this country's music. And Beyonce is ranging out even beyond country. She's giving country a new kind of ethos. Because it's not merely what we hear in Patsy Cline or Hank Williams or Garth Brooks. It is a country that is imbued with the blues, with the sensitivity of rhythm and blues, with soul, with gospel. And also, she's doing some rock, she's doing some funk, she's doing a little bit of jazz stuff. I mean, she is remarkable in her ability to stretch the genre to show that from the very beginning, black folk have been involved in what we now call country and western. They shorten it to country, but also her bona fides are real. She's in Houston. She's a Southern girl. Cowboy boots and hats are not foreign to her. And you know that old saying, he was all cowboy hat and no cattle. Mm-hmm. All hat and no cattle. She got hat, cattle, and horses and everything else besides that. And she's brilliantly she's really reshaping country, even as she has absorbed within it, even as they were skeptical, some of them, about what she could do with it. Not only is she at the top of the charts, she's charted a new path for people who are doing country and giving light to those people like Linda Martell, who have been doing country from the get-go, who never got their due, and the backup singers, including Miss Adele and others, who she has really, really given the light to. This is the genius of Beyonce, and the album is utterly remarkable, and I recommend anybody who hasn't listened to it to definitely give it a listen.
So that's what's on the album, at least to the ears of Michael Eric Dyson. When we come forward in our remaining moments, I want to talk about the album cover. Again, that's what's on the project, but that cover has also generated a great deal of conversation and some controversy. We'll talk about that part with Michael Eric Dyson in our remaining moments when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
More of Tavis Smiley when we come forward.
If you're like me, 60 and retired, making ends meet, especially here at the supermarket and drugstore, is tough. I'm so blessed to have found benefitscheckup.org. It's a free and confidential website from the National Council on Aging that connected me to $1,200 a year in programs that help pay for food, medicine, utilities, and more. Maybe it can help you. benefitscheckup.org.
My daughter was diagnosed with a rare malignant rhabdoid tumor on the spine. They sent her straight to St. Jude. My hope was gone. But when you get there, everyone's like, hey, we're not going to give up. And when you see other people not giving up on your child, that makes all the difference in the world. When I found out I didn't have to pay, I was just grateful. They saved my baby's life.
Finding cures, saving children. Learn more at stjude.org.
LADWP is proud to partner with KBLA to share with you how to start the new year without bill worries. We're here to help if you're behind on your bill or need help staying current. Sign up anytime online for Level Pay to set predictable monthly payments throughout the year, including for past due amounts. You can also check out the special extended pay arrangements of up to 48 months to help pay down your bill. If you're a senior or income qualified, you may be eligible for Easy Save to receive discounts and also qualify for free and discounted energy and water saving devices. You can get up to $15,000 for past due water and or sewer bills and up to $3,000 for electric bills. But you gotta act fast. Funding is limited. You can reduce your past due bills and kick off the year right, because here at LADWP, we're here to help. Visit ladwp.com/cares today and find out more.
My mom has taken up going to the park to practice yoga.
My dad's going to a club, but not a book club, a salsa club.
Finding new hobbies comes with age.
My mom has started getting lost and not knowing where she's going.
Becoming lost or disoriented doesn't. Confusion with time or place may be a sign of Alzheimer's. An early diagnosis can help improve the quality of life for your loved one. Learn the warning signs of Alzheimer's at 10signs.org. Brought to you by the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
Febreze.
So my home is also my office. And before I can focus, every room's gotta be clean. That means tidying up, then spraying my Febreze Air Mist. Ooh, that's fresh. Febreze Air Mist scents are all high quality. They fight any weird funk, and they give my air an instant boost of freshness. So not only does my home smell good, I feel good too. After I Febreze, it's time to start my day.
Breathe happy, Febreze, la 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 la.
More honesty than you can handle. More empowerment than you can imagine. You're tuned in to Tavis Smiley.
Michael Eric Dyson, you and I know, believe in never putting the flag above the cross for myriad reasons, not the least of which is because that red, white, and blue is complicated, and yet Beyonce sort of wraps herself in that on the cover of this album, which has caused a great deal of conversation and some consternation. Your commentary, sir.
Well, look, it's a brilliant move. Think about her husband and Kanye on Watch the Throne, where they're speaking about America, and they're talking about this is America, or think about Childish Gambino. There's a long history of black people laying claim to historic legacies from which they have been excluded. Ray Charles singing about America the Beautiful, and as Al Sharpton said, he's singing about something he ain't never seen. So you know he got hope and faith. So here's the point. Beyonce is reclaiming that American flag for all black people who have been said not to be American. After all, she says this album in part was inspired by going to the CMA, the Country Music Association, and singing with then the Dixie Chicks, as they were then known. and somebody hollered, "Get that black bee off stage." And so she is reclaiming our rightful ownership, if you will, of that flag as much as anybody else. The red part is seen, the blood we've shed, but the blue part, representing justice, is somehow hidden. It has not yet been revealed. She is naked beneath all of that. Why? Because she's vulnerable as a black figure, as a black artist, as a black agent of our destiny. And she's standing there saying, I'm going to represent this flag because it represents Texas's black cowboys and the rodeo culture that people don't know anything about. The flag is a sign of American empire, of imperialism and dominance and hegemony all over the world. She's reclaiming it for the purposes of justice, of freedom, and democracy. And I think what she's doing, she's never given credit for this kind of complexity because she's a black woman. And black female genius is rarely recognized to the degree and to the extent that it represents all of us as black people. And I think what Beyonce has done is extremely valuable, provocative, and so purposeful and substantive.
I've got 60 seconds left. I'll give it to you. There is great conversation again about whether or not she is or will be embraced by the country music industry. My exit question is, does it matter?
It don't matter because she said, this ain't no country album. This a Beyonce album. B, I'm bigger than all of y'all. I represent what I represent. I'm blessing you. You ain't blessing me. But guess what? She's breaking all kind of records at the same time. So she's having her cake and she's eating off of it as well. Go ahead, B. Do your thing. You've got the whole country wearing your chain, and we appreciate that kind of celebration.
And nobody like him, Michael Eric Dyson. Honored to have him on this program today, and anytime I can get him for that matter. And so we close again saying how grateful we are for the life and legacy of one Martin Luther King Jr., who was assassinated 56 years ago today. In Memphis, Tennessee. We close this program by thanking God for the work and witness of one Maya Angelou, who was born on this day, April 4. And as Dr. Dyson brilliantly reminded us, we also say congratulations to Beyonce and Jay-Z, who were married on April 4, 16 years ago. A lot to talk about, a lot to celebrate, a lot to be thankful for on this day, April 4, 2024. And I'm thankful, as always, for you, Michael Eric Dyson. Love you, man. Ain't nothing you can do about it. Love you like a fat kid loves cake.
Love you too, brother. Love you like a brother avoiding Philadelphia when the death threats are on.
More Tavis Smiley when we come forward.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Mike Moore. Here's the latest from the Black Information Network. The judge in Donald Trump's hush money case is rejecting his presidential immunity argument. Trump is being charged with falsifying business records and has repeatedly tried to get New York Judge Juan Merchan recused from the case. Wednesday, Merchan shot down Trump's bid to use presidential immunity as part of his defense. The judge also denied Trump's motion to delay the trial's start date. In South Carolina, Horry County Schools is facing a federal lawsuit alleging racial discrimination. The suit was filed on behalf of a 17-year-old student who went to Green Seafloyd High School. The lawsuit claims the black teen was used as target practice by white teammates on the tennis team in 2023. The school's principal and coach are named as defendants. And that's the latest. I'm Mike Moore from your 20...
After a breakout 2023 season, Bazooka is getting the bobblehead treatment on Saturday, April 13th at 6:10 p.m. against the Padres. First 40,000 fans take home the first ever Bruce Dargetterall bobblehead presented by Yamaba Resort and Casino. Visit Dodgers.com/promotion.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Lakers capped a 5-1 Eastern road trip with a 5-point win at Washington. Anthony Davis had 35 points and 18 rebounds. Dallas, Phoenix, and Sacramento keep winning as well. With 5 games left in the regular season,